Welcome back to Hedge Apple Acres. I'm Cal. In today's video, we're going to check our newly installed packages, their queens, and set up feeders. Today we're going to get in a few hives. If you're not subscribed to our channel, we encourage you to click the subscribe button below and click on the bell so you get notifications of our new videos. So last week we installed 3 packages of mountain gray Caucasian honeybees. Really excited about getting them here, but as I mentioned in the last video, it's June, we have hay on the ground, and it's starting to get warm. With a new package, no matter what time of year, it's important you feed them. And last week when I installed them, I put the can of syrup in there that they were mailed with, and I should have went ahead and put a feeder in there. I didn't at that time, but today you're going to go with me and we're going to put some feeders in. We're going to look at the queens, put feeders in. We have 3 different types of feeders we're going to talk about. I went to our regional farm store and grabbed me a little giant metal frame holder. I've never had one. Thought maybe it was time. It'll just hook on the side. That was a splurge, not really a need. I also got a frame feeder. So pushing the sides, see if we can get this. There's a paper in here, we don't really need it. It does have a couple holders. Where does it show? Put those midway, and then we put the feeder over the top. What these do is keep it separated and not collapse on us. I just kind of picked there, we'll see how they go. So this goes back in here, and the bees can come in here and get to the syrup through here and they don't drown. To be honest, they said these, I don't see why I need these. This goes in, that pops in place, that holds it. I don't see any needs for those. Okay, we'll put this in once we get in there. Let's open it up. One thing I like to do first, put some smoke on my hands. As a rule, I'd rather do that than even smoke the hive. Oh, look at that. Okay, here's our case from another day we need to get out. Let's take a look and see what the queen is doing. I mentioned before in hive tools, this is your regular hive tool. I'm not too much of a fan of it, but I keep a spare one. This is my favorite. It's got a J hook at the end. I can just go just like that. Let's see what we got. Oh, looky there. Doing lots of comb. And you can see right in here, they've got pollen they brought in. They're building a little bit on the outside here. Oh, they messed this comb up a little. And that's because I had this queen case in here. Or queen cage. So they spent a lot of work building this comb here that is not going to be used. And one thing, I found the bees are more likely to do that when you have plastic in there. That's just been my experience. I don't know if other people have that experience. I'm not going to tear that off yet. I will tear it off though. I want to see what we've got here. Oh, look here. Queen's been released. We've got lots of pollen here. See if we can see any eggs. You can see the pollen in there. So this side, more pollen. The thing we want to be really careful about, we've got a queen somewhere, and we do not want to hurt her. I'm going to stick that there and look at these other frames. Building up nicely, lots of pollen. What I'm looking for eggs in there. Now it's kind of early for the queen because it'll take her a day or two to start laying, but they're bringing in lots of pollen. So that is a beautiful sight. Let's look at this last frame. They're building a little bit on the outside, and they're building on the inside as well. So here's a drone right here. Drones are interesting, they can't sting you. I'm not seeing the queen, but we're just going to put this back together. I'm going to remove this comb that's just crazy. Oops, did not mean to drop that. Oh, gotta get my deal out. So this just goes right here, and I can put a frame right here on it. It's really nice. Okay. Again, I do not want this comb, but at the same time, I have to be really careful. I don't want to lose a queen. One thing I'm going to do when I put this back in, this frame was stuck out a little bit because I had the queen cage in it. So when I put that queen, when I put these frames back in, that won't be an issue. And I just got to be careful. I do not want to hurt a queen. There's some bees in that. Now this, they built that out wrong, so I am going to scrape that so they can fix that comb right there. And when you do this comb, don't throw it on the ground. You need to keep it, especially on this new comb like this, they'll make really pretty white wax when melted. Now all this I scrape off is creating more work, but it's better to do it now than later. Okay, let's put this frame back in the way it was. We have our other frames. We're going to put this right on the edge. So let's put another frame in there. I like to carry a little plastic bucket with me to put any comb, because I want that comb saved. Put this up here. We really want those bees to go back in the hive. And now if you have a frame feeder, I'll turn this over, don't I? If you have a frame feeder, for a medium, it takes up 2 spots or 2 frames, but for a deep hive it only takes up 1. So I've got it in here. I'm gonna pour some sugar water in. I made some up. I'll pour it in. It got it to about that full. Okay, so let's look at this real good. I want those bees off that, but I want to make sure. The big thing is I don't want the queen left on here if I set it out here. And the sun is going to come out today, so I can't leave it there or I'll have a melted blob on there. Okay, let's go ahead and take this. Okay, so we've got our frame feeder in. I really like frame feeders. The biggest drawback I have to them is that you have to open up the hive to get to them. My other two, you'll see you don't have to open up the hive, but you don't have to worry about robbing with those. Just before I do this, let's push these frames back together. That'll keep the bees from building that wonky comb. Okay, hive number 2 of our packages we put in the other day. We're going to get in and look at the queen, and we're also going to put a feeder on the front. We have what's called a Boardman feeder. You have a jar with a narrow mouth and a lid that's got some holes poked in it. And it flips over like that. I'm only using a pint jar because that's the only narrow mouth jar I had. And then you put it in here. You gotta raise up your hive just a little bit, but then the bees can crawl in here and get to the syrup. Now my entrance reducer is not working now, so I'm just going to lay it there to reduce that somewhat. I have quit using those feeders because I don't like them for a few reasons. One, they kind of introduce some robbing because that sugar water smells right at the entrance. And then I like the type of feeder I'm putting on last best, and that's what I've converted everything to. That's one reason I do not have a narrow mouth jar. Alright, now this hive, if you remember, not near as many bees. One thing we had going on with this frame when we put it in, we had more dead in this frame than we did the other frames. Okay, the queen's been turned loose, entrance cleared all the way through. Again, they built some comb right there on that gap where we don't want it. So let's put our frame holder and see what we've got. No activity on the outer one. Started some here. Not a great lot, just a little bit building there. When I put them over here, I'm putting them reverse order, so this one will be on the outside, but I'm also not flipping them. That way when I put them back in, the brood nest is just the way it was. Working there. See what we got. Much more bees over here. You can see they've got pollen. Okay, now we're going to get to the frame that they built some wonky on. They've drawn this frame out greatly. One thing I'm interested to see when I raise some bees, some workers out of these queens. Are these Caucasian workers or not? They're very orange with a black tip, a lot of them, but they're very calm on the frame. That is super calm. I don't see any running. They're just there, and I didn't even smoke them. I just smoked my hands. This side, same thing, doing good. It's pretty early, so I don't know if I can find the queen. Now, as we mentioned earlier, I'm going to cut these two pieces of comb off, but I don't want the queen there, so got to be careful about that. We got some pollen under there. Don't see any eggs, but it is still early. This is the last package. Oops. And this is using some of my old equipment. I didn't buy new here. So I have a medium super. I have a medium super on this hive, and on the other hive, or the first hive, I've got a deep super. For the most part, I like the mediums, and I bought the deep only because that's what our local farm supply store have. Lots of bees here. Now, one thing that happens when you put two packages next to each other without closing the entrance, you'll sometimes get some bees migrate from one hive to the other. So let's take a look. Start right over here. And you can see I'm doing foundationless in here. So we'll see what our comb looks like. Now this is some old comb they have access to. They haven't started using. Some old comb. Now it's got drone comb in it and stuff because it was foundationless. See, they're using it. I'm just going to slide these over. Oh, there's my queen cage. For this one, I had shoved it in the side. Oh, that was a little rougher. I don't like to do anything sudden or anything too quick or rough with my bees. I want them to know that I'm gentle when I'm in there. I do not want to disrupt them, so rough. Queen is out. So we've got some bees here. These bees are really yellow. They remind me of, not quite as yellow as a Cardigan Italian, but they're very yellow. Okay, we're going to set this over to the side. Remember, I'm not going to leave that comb out here because that'll, or could invite wax moths because they'll smell that wax. Okay, this is one that had some kind of odd comb anyway. I'm going to push this back towards the center. And I don't want to push any bees, so I tried to find a spot where I could do it without, and that gets it more in line. Drop it back. I did have a little piece up on the back side that was odd, so I'm going to get it. Kind of a little wavy comb. You can see it indents there and comes out. Let's look at this back side. Up. They built two combs. And that's sometimes the issue you have when you go foundationless. Let's look at what we have here. The bees are working on, that's nice in the center. I'm actually going to move that over. Well, I don't like to mess up their brood nest. They're working there. I don't want this double comb. So I'm going to see if I can take this back comb off. It actually appears that I can. The key is do it without hurting bees. Now sometimes, see how our smoke is. Give it a little bit of smoke there. It'll cause the bees to move off of it. And you gotta be careful when you're working with fresh comb, especially when it's warm, like today's gonna be in the 90s. That comb is weak, and especially with the top bar hive, it'll just come loose and then you've lost all your comb. Okay, so I've got that off. You can see how that's indented. So I am going to take, oh, there's my queen too. She is right there. Look at her. You know, when last Friday I said, no, I don't. They were small. She's got good size on her. Let's see if we can push this comb back a little. I do it up where it's attached. It pushes the whole thing. And then I want to push this side in some. Get that a little bit straighter. So let's go back in here. Put this back where it was. Okay, so I know I don't have a queen on this because we saw her. I'm gonna give him a little bit of smoke. That comb's too fragile or new for me to knock it and get too good of results. Or I think, yeah. And then I want you to show you something on my top. There's a hole right here. You can't see it too good, but there's a hole there. If you look on the top, there's a hole. So I have my jar, and I've got a 1/8 inch piece of copper tubing that I've soldered onto that. Turn it over. It takes it just a second, leaks this a little bit. I put it in that hole. And that lets the bees get a drink of it. And it limits them from just downing a whole bunch. Like with a Boardman feeder, you can have as many holes as you want. And this just has that one opening, so it limits the consumption just a little bit. But it's there close. I put these on. It's easy to see. I can quickly look, see if a hive needs more sugar water that I'm feeding. One thing I don't like, today's going to be really hot. And as that heats up, that's going to push some syrup water in the bottom of that hive. But overall, this is my favorite type of feeder. On that top, how to make it, I think scientificbeekeeping.com has a tutorial, and then I should make one and get you all a video of it. I really like these. Okay, well, we got to getting some bees today. These bees, ooh, it's kind of warm. I'm excited to work with these mountain gray Caucasians more. As always, we appreciate you watching, and we encourage you to comment, like, subscribe, and share. We'll be seeing you more.